Hey, welcome back and let's learn another type of VPN. So in this practical, we are going to look at L2TP over IPSec. In our previous practical, we looked at GRE over IPSec. So VPN are a way in which you can access your headquarters remotely uh, over a secure channel. That is the VPN, that is the protocol. There are different types of VPN. So we have got a VPN can be applied at different layers. So GRE and IPSec can be applied at the transport at the not at the network layer, while L2TP here is layer 2 tunneling protocol that is applied at the layer 2 at the data link layer, while the last type of tunneling protocol is now will be the SSL VPN that is applied at the application layer. It's a layer 3 protocol, layer 3 VPN that is applied at the application layer for the webs. So layer 2 tunneling protocol generally is set to transmit point-to-point packets between a user and an enterprise server. With the layer 2, layer 2 can authenticate the packets, but it has a weakness where it cannot provide encryption for the data. That's why we implement IPSec, layer 2 over IPSec. So for the IPSec here is going to provide the security. In configuring this practical, we're going to involve two stages. The first stage will be now setting up the L2TP connection. Then lastly, I will involve now configuring the IPSec VPN. So to set up a layer 2 connection, it involves steps. So the first step will be establishing. We'll first establish a L2TP tunnel. First we establish L2TP tunnel. L2TP tunnel. After establishing a tunnel, the next thing is to establish an L2TP session. So establish L2TP session, and after the L2TP session is established, the next is to point-to-point connection. Point-to-point connection. After the session is established, the point-to-point connection must also be ensured. Then step 4 will be authentication. Now, after the PP connection is established, before PP connection is established, the LNS server here is going to authenticate the user. So authenticating user. After our user has been authenticated, now the point-to-point connection will be established. So number 4 now will be a point-to-point connection. After point-to-point connection is established, now the last stage will be, now the user will now be able to access the internet network that is on the headquarters. User access internet after the connection is established. So those are the 4 stages that are going to be involved while establishing L2TP tunnel. That is step 1 to step 5. Let's look at now how that look like. So here is the diagram to show you how the tunnel is established between L2TP. So first stage will be now establish L2TP tunnel, where it involves the CHAP challenge and also the CHAP response. After the CHAP is has succeeded, the next stage will be now to establish a session. After the session is established, now the user will be authenticated. the LNS authenticate the user. After the user has been authentication, after the authentication succeeds, now a point-to-point connection is established. Then finally the user will be able to access the internet resources. Now we are going to look at our lab scenario. In our lab scenario here, this is an example for configuring L2TP over IPSec to implement secure communication between headquarters and the branch. As shown in the figure, LAC is the enterprise branch gateway and LNS is the enterprise headquarter gateway. The LAC automatically dials up to establish L2TP connection between the LNS to secure communication. The enterprise requests that the service packets transmitted over the L2TP tunnel be protected from being intercepted and tampered. L2TP over IPSec can be configured to encrypt service packets transmitted between the enterprise and headquarters, and the branch. So this is how the work we are going to do will look like. So we are going to, our router 1 will be labeled LAC and router 2 will be labeled LNS. So the LAC router here is going to act as the user, while the LNS is going to act as the server, where the user and the LNS will establish now a tunnel. This is the roadmap: configure IP address and static routes. The next is enable L2TP on a LAC. The PPA user sends the connection request to the LNS in the headquarters through L2TP tunnel. After PP user is authenticated, tunnel is set up. On the LAC, configure reachable routes. On the LNS, configure L2TP, create PP user and configure routes to the public network segment. Then configure SCL to define data flows protected by the IPSec. Then configure IPSec proposal and IKE and other IPSec VPN parameters. So that's the practical, and that's the task we have. We jump and start by configuring the layer 3. We give the interface as IP addresses. So enter into our LAC here. The device has been named. So interface gig 0/0/1. We give it IP address will be 1.1.2.1/24. Then the gig 2 that connect to PC1 will be IP address of 10.1.10.1/24. Then we are going to configure also the same on LNS here. So interface gig 0/0/1. IP address will be 1.1.1.1/24. Then for gig 2, we shall give it IP address of 10.1.20.1/24. Then we are going to ensure that the LAC and the LNS can reach each other, so meaning we are going to configure static route. So IP route static. While we are on LNS, we are going to configure the route of 1.1.2.1 subnet mask of 24, and the next hop shall be 1.1.1.2. Also, while we are on this, ensure you configure static route, so you quit and IP route static. Our network will be 1.1.1/24, and our next hop will be 1.2.2.2. So while on this, let's try to ping our LNS. So ping 1.1.1.1. That connection has been established. After configuring now the layer 3, that's enabling that those routers are reachable. The next thing is now is going to be setting up L2TP, so layer 2 tunneling protocol. So on the LAC, we enable L2TP and also globally, and we create L2TP group. After creating the L2TP group, we are going to configure now the user, and the user is going to be Huawei to establish L2TP connection with the LNS. So we go to our LAC here, and we are told to first of all we enable L2TP. So L2TP, so L2TP enable. After enable L2TP, we create an L2TP group, and group here we set to 1. Then we are going to name the tunnel. So the tunnel name, here we are going to give it LAC. After creating the tunnel, we are going now to establish a connection with the LNS. So we start a connection. So start L2TP connection, IP address, we are going to give it 1.1. that is the IP address of the LNS.1.1, and the full username here will be Huawei. After that, we are going to enable a tunnel authentication and set the password Huawei. So while on that, we create a tunnel authentication here. Then the tunnel password will be tunnel password will be Huawei. When that is done, tunnel password here, cipher Huawei. When that is done, you configure the username and password for point-to-point authentication and IP address. So you quit and enter a virtual template interface. So quit. So interface virtual template 1, name it 1. Then you set the PP authentication. So PP chap. Username will be username here will be Huawei. Then we set the password to, so PP chap password here cipher. Password cipher here will be Huawei at 1 2 3 4. When that is done, we are going to also to give it IP address to tell it to negotiate the IP address. So IP address PP and negotiate. Then when that is done, I will enable the LAC to dial up and establish an L2TP tunnel with the LNS. So while on that virtual template interface, you are going to tell it to dial up. So L2TP dial up client to enable. So you can see the template has gone up. When that is done, we're going to configure a private network route on the LAC so that users in the enterprise branch can communicate with the users in the headquarters. So I quit here and create an IP route, IP route here. IP route static will be 10.1.20.0 and our mask is 24. Then the outbound interface will be virtual template 1. After confirming that, we're going to save our configuration, so say yes. Then we come to our LNS here that's going to act as the server, and do the same. So on the LNS, you're going to configure AAA authentication and user name. You're going to set to Huawei, the password as Huawei at 123. So AAA. Then the local user here will be Huawei with the password cipher to be password cipher. Here we're going to set to Huawei at 123 4. Then the local user, we are going to set the service type to local user Huawei. Service type shall be point to point. When that is done, the next thing we do is configure IP address pool for LNS, and for LNS to assign IP address in the dial-up interface on the LAC. So we are going to create an IP pool. So I create IP pool 1, and this pool is going to assign IP addresses to the dial-up interface of the LAC. So pool 1 the network will be 10.1.1.0 mask of 24. Our gateway list here will be 10.1.1.1. When you look at our topology here, that 10.1.1 is this for the virtual template 1 here, which has an IP address of 10.1.1. So after doing that, you create, and then we configure a virtual template and configure point-to-point negotiation parameters on the LNS. So interface virtual template 1. We set PP authentication to be, authentication mode here is going to be CHAP. Then after that, we give it the remote address. So we give it IP address. So remote address is going to be pool 1. So it will select address from pool 1. Then IP address here will be 10.1.1.1/24. When that is done, we enable L2TP and configure an L2TP group on the LNS, like we did on the LAC. That is the device on the branch side. So we create and we enable L2TP and enable L2TP. After enable L2TP, we are going to create L2TP group, and group here is going to be group 1. Then after that, configure the LNS tunnel name and specify the LAC name. So we are going to create the LNS tunnel name. After that, we specify the tunnel name for the LAC that we created on the other router on the branch. So tunnel name here will be LNS. Then we specify the name for the LAC. So allow L2TP virtual template 1. Allow L2TP virtual template 1. Then remote shall be LAC. After After we're done with that, we're going to enable authentication function and also configure authentication password on LNS. So we are going to tunnel authentication. Here will be tunnel password cipher, tunnel password cipher to Huawei. Then we are going to configure a private network route so that the enterprise can access now the network of the headquarters. So we create IP route static. IP route static here will be 1.1.2.0, not 1.1.2. That will be 10.1.10.0, and our mask here will be 24. With the next hop will be the outbound interface for the virtual template 1. So display L2TP tunnel. So when you display L2TP tunnel, you can see here the tunnel has been established. So the local ID for the tunnel is 1, remote ID is 1, remote address is 1.1.2.1. The port here will be is 42,246. One session has been established. Then the remote name is luck. So also while on luck here, let's display L2TP tunnel, and you can see here the remote address here is 1.1.1.1. The port number is 42,246. Session 1 has been established. Then the remote name is LNS. So we save after establishing a layer 2 tunnel. Also you save on the server, so meaning that our stage one has been verified. Now we are going to stage 2, that is establishing the IPSec now to encrypt the point-to-point packets from user to the server. So you enter into that device. You're going to create a tunnel from LAC to LNS. So we begin IPSec proposal here. The proposal name here, let's use L2TP. Then we set the transform. Transform here will be ESP. Then ESP authentication algorithm, we shall set SHA-256. Then ESP encryption algorithm will be advanced encryption standard 128. After that, we tell it the encapsulation mode here. Encapsulation mode here will be tunnel. When done with that, you quit, and we are going to set now. We set the IKE Internet Key Exchange. A proposal here shall be proposal will be used proposal number 5. Then on the proposal, we are going to create authentication algorithm to SHA-1, encryption algorithm to AS128. Then we are going to create the method for which we are going to exchange the keys will be DH. When you select DH, we have got group 14. So DH group 14. When that is done, we are going to also create the duration. So SA duration here will be 400 seconds. After that, we quit and we create the peer. So IKE peer here. The peer shall be, we should give the name of smart. Smart here, the version, let's give it version 1. And then after creating the IKE peer, we're going to bind the IKE proposal that we created. So IKE proposal number 5. And on that, we are going to set the pre-shared key. So pre-shared key cipher here, and the password here will be Huawei at 1234. Then the remote address is going to be the address on the LNS side. So remote address will be 1.1.1.1. Then display this to see. You can see what has been added on that interface. Then you quit. After that, the next you go on the LNS side here. You do the same. So to create the IPSec proposal here, we said we use L2TP name, L2TP. Then the transform here, we set to encapsulation ESP. Then ESP authentication, we use here SHA-256. ESP encryption algorithm, here we use advanced encryption standard 1 to 8. After that, the encapsulation mode here is tunnel. You quit and create the IKE proposal. IKE proposal here number is 5. Then in that we set the authentication algorithm here SHA-1. Then encryption algorithm here will be American encryption, advanced encryption. After creating the encryption, now we set a way in which we can exchange the key, that is the Hellman. So the Hellman here will be the group number here will be group 14. Then we set the duration. So SA duration here will be 400. You quit and you create the IKE peer through which we are going to set the password. So IKE peer name here we are going to use smart, and version is 1. So on IKE smart version 1, we bind that IKE proposal number 5. After binding IKE proposal, we set the shared key cipher. Then the password was Huawei at 1234. After that, the next thing we do, we configure the remote address. The remote address will be 1.1.2.1 display. In display, you can see what is configured on that peer. You quit, and the next stage will be. Before we proceed, we were supposed to configure an NSCL to show the network that is going to be protected in that VPN. So we are going to enter SCL. SCL here we use advanced SCL CL3001. We are going to protect the network where PC2 belongs. So rule 10. We are going to set to permit IP source Then the IP source here will be 10 dot. We are going to tell it to permit the source for the where the LNS is, so will be 1.1.1.0 wildcard mask of 0.0.0.0.255, and the destination here will be 1.1.2.0 wildcard mask of 0.0.0.255. Also, while on LNS, you're going to tell it the network that the data flow that is going to be protected will be, so SCL 3001. So rule number is 10. Then we tell it to permit IP source. IP source here will be, sorry guys, in that lack we configured a wrong source. So IP source on this guy will be 1.1.1 wildcard mask of 0.0.0.255. Our destination will be 1.1.2.0 wildcard mask of 0.0.0.255. and check on the flow that we configured on this lack and change it. So I'm going to undo rule 10. So now we're going to create the rule. So rule here, rule number 10. Then the source IP, permit IP source. The source address here will be 1.1.2.0 wildcard mask of 0.0.0.255. and the destination here will be 1.1.1.1.0 wildcard mask of 0.0.0.255. I'll quit, and after creating the SCL, now the next thing we are going to do, we are going to create the IPSec policy. So IPSec policy. Policy here, the policy name will be policy 1. After policy 1, you can see the integer. You're going to give integer number 10. Then after integer number 10, we're going to set how is the IPSec SA, how is it going to the SA security association here is how the peers will exchange now the IPSec parameters. So here you can either configure it in manual or IPSec, where this one is a automatic key exchange protocol, while the manual you have to configure it manual. So here we are going to use and then enter. On that IPSec policy, we are going to bind the IKEP here, and also we are going to bind the IKEP, the IPSec proposal, and also the SCL that we just created. So IKEP here we said was smart. Then the security SCL will be SCL 3001. Then the proposal was L2TP. And after that you quit and enter the interface that has connect to that router here. So that is gig 1, and you enable that you bind that IPSec policy into that interface. So interface gig 0/0/1 IPSec policy here is going to be policy 1. Then you quit. While on LNS here you do the same, you quit, and we are going to create the IPSec policy. Policy name here will be policy 1. Policy 1, we set the integer to 10. Then I use the IPSec. Then we bind the IKEP here was smart. And security CL was 3001. Then the proposal we set was L2TP. Quit and bind that IPSec policy into the interface. So interface gig 0/0/1 bar going to IPSec policy 1. You quit and display IKESA. When you display IKESA, you can see the peer has been established. So that is, a peer was 10.1.2.1 and the face face 2, and the second one is 10.1.1, the face is face 1. You come also on this lock here, so display IKESA. You can see the peer here is 1.1.1.1. So let's see if our PC here were given IP address. They have IP address. Now can they ping our gateway? So ping 1.1.1.1. Request timeout. It can't reach that gateway. So ping and on this guy I can ping 10.1.10.1. So the link was still down. It also should be able to ping the gateway where the LNS is, so it can ping that 1.1.1. It's able to ping. Also, it should be able to ping the PC on that PC on the headquarter. It should be able to access the headquarters. So ping first of all the gateway for that .1.20.1. It's able to reach that gateway. What about the PC itself? So .2, the PC itself is .2. It's able to reach PC2. Also, while on PC2, ensure that you can reach PC1. So ping 10.1.10.2. The packet should be able to go successfully with a 0 packet loss. So guys, I believe that is the implementation for L2TP over IPSec, and I hope from this you've learned something you didn't know, and also you remember to support our content creation by subscribing, so that we get to produce more and more of videos you might like. So thank you, and let's meet in our next practicals. So bye for now.